I am Erin Patton, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings, I'm Erin Patton, also known as Master L, and welcome to the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. I am honored to be joined here today by none other than LauraAura, and she is an alignment coach. She is also the host of the Gutsy Podcast, where she just might trick you into believing in yourself. And I love that. I love that tag. I love the idea of even being tricked. And I just want to welcome you to the cast.
Thank you so much for having me in this beautiful space that we have together today.
Yes. And just diving right in, I really want to learn more about how you got into being this gutsy host, because a lot of us have had journeys. I always talk about my journeys, crazy and roller coastery, and would love to understand more about yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just want to acknowledge that I don't think that I've yet met an entrepreneur or someone that has drive that doesn't have some wild, crazy, twisted journey of their own, right? Like,
That's true.
There's just something about like people that are very driven, people that are called for more, people that continue to follow what I consider the breadcrumbs of life from our soul.
Yes.
Like, I mean, it leads us on a crazy path sometimes, right? But it's so that we can gather information along the way to guide us to where we want to be. So, I just think it's brilliant to hear the story behind the story, because it's very easy to look at someone or something and just make assumptions, but to know that you're like literally looking at the snapshot of the combination of a lot of things that have cleared the path, lessons that have learned, and continuing to push through even when you think that you can't. So little side tangent there.
I love that.
So I've been an entrepreneur for 16 years, literally just celebrating 16 years in business this month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And you want to talk about a wild journey? There is one to be had for sure.
Come on now.
So, I always tell people that before you're a business owner, you're a human. And as a human, you have thoughts and feelings and ideas and habits and beliefs and just all the stuff that comes along with who you are. And spoiler alert, when you create a business, when you go to do something different that you're currently doing right now, that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
If anything, it gets amplified.
Yeah.
And so my whole journey of, my core business is in branding. I brand businesses. And that business is still up and alive and well, and it's a well-oiled machine at this point. But when I was building that business, I didn't realize how much I was really learning about myself.
That part.
Yeah, like learning about myself in the process of building is humbling and terrifying and exhilarating all at the same time. And so as I was building brands, as I was building teams, I realized that I was like super interested in the mind behind the people that I was working with.
Yeah.
And I've always just been really good about leaning into the things that like light me up, that make me feel curious and excited. So I started interviewing entrepreneurs, having very raw conversations about the things that we're all thinking and feeling.
Yeah.
But maybe don't have the space, the capacity, or the support to actually vocalize vulnerability. And for whatever reason, the universe was like, LauraAura, vulnerability is going to be your jam. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
Like I signed up for that. And so here we are. So, to me, Gutsy has been this kind of lifelong journey of coming back into myself.
Yes.
To being the person that I've always been before the world told me what I should be.
That part.
And that is the message that is threaded through every single thing that I do. It's about rediscovering who you are, what you actually want, and how you actually want to do things.
Yes.
And then giving yourself permission to do it.
That part, because I feel like for so many people, okay, what you're saying, I know that our listeners have heard this many times before. Yet for me and getting those words from you, I feel the energy behind it, because you've actually done the work. And I want to see if we can dig a little bit deeper on and narrow in on this part in knowing of yourself and loving of yourself and believing in yourself, because this is something that I believe gets overstated, but not quite fully explained, if you will. If you could just go into more detail around how did you go about the work of knowing yourself, like you're doing this business, you're saying that you're learning about yourself in the process. Like, what were some of the stories that really started to unlock some of those knowings for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the two that always surface to the top first and foremost, I mean, they like to run right to the surface, are old conditioning and old beliefs.
Yeah.
That were given to me as a child.
Yes.
And so one, the deep rooted fear of abandonment, because I've lived through several iterations of abandonment throughout my life, particularly as a child. And then also the deep rooted belief that money was bad.
Yes.
Money is the root of all evil.
Yes.
Money makes you an asshole. Money makes you arrogant. Money is hard to make. As soon as money comes in, it has to leave. Any conversation around money is angry, right? That's what I was taught, because that was my surroundings. Okay. And so those two things really love to join forces in my world. It's like they're best friends and they like to skip down the street together, right? Like, they see the chalkboard, hopscotch on the ground, and they like to do it together, right? Like, they're friends. And so like for me, doing, quote unquote, the work, was realizing how those two stories were presenting themselves as I was growing this business. And so what I unintentionally did, what my subconscious did, was it wove those two things together. And it said, basically, to keep people in your life, we must expend ourselves, and we have to make sure everyone else is taken care of emotionally and financially. And we'll just take what's left. Damn. We're just putting what black and white terms here. Right. And so
I understand.
I stopped paying myself as the CEO. I lowered my prices to make sure that people got what they needed. I was building up my team, but completely annihilating myself physically and mentally. Not intentionally, of course, but, deep depression, lots and lots and lots of anxiety, lots of people pleasing, lots of making sure everything was right and overworking myself. And it was like, what am I building? Right? Like when COVID hit, I had to make the very hard but very necessary decision to let my entire staff go, pack up all of my shit, move back into my home office in the basement, and sit in this creation that I had allowed.
Yeah.
And, at that point I hadn't paid myself in 4 or 5 months. Business was all over, like basically the walls were falling down. Right. And I was sitting there and I was like, wow, like I let this happen. And I think that that's it's a hard truth, but it was the truth. Yeah. And so, for me, those two things constantly, even though I've done a lot of the work, I've done the therapy, I've done the mindset training, I teach alignment, right? Like it doesn't mean that these things go away. Yes. It just means that you're better equipped to handle them the next time they pop up. So it doesn't rock you off your center completely for months or years at a time. But you can see it and feel it coming and say, okay, I see it, I understand it, but now I'm better equipped to handle it. Yes. Now I know what to do with this instead of it running my life. So those are just two kind of examples of doing the work. Happy to share more if you want to go even further, but it's stuff that we don't think about our subconscious and what's happening back there, right? Like that's the whole point of it. It's your subconscious is like an online storage bin of your body and of your life, right? But the crazy thing is 95 to 97% of our thoughts come from there. Yeah. And so there's this autopilotness, and whatever we have stored in there through thoughts, beliefs, expectations, scenarios, situations, something that we've seen, something someone said to us, that's like gets stored back in there. And then that becomes how we navigate this world.
Yeah.
So if we don't get in touch with that and we don't start to uncover what some of those things are, they continue.
Yes. Okay. This is so good. I feel like I was just talking about this in another cast, and it's great to have like a different perspective on it, because the subconscious obviously occupies 95% of our behaviors, our living, our being. And the subconscious also is where all those pre-programs are stored. So you talked about being equipped. Like, you're sitting in your basement, you haven't been paid in like 5 months, like you don't have a team. Like, what is that equipment, those tools that you use to get yourself from there to a better standing, or a magnificent standing, if you will, because I'm sure it is magnificent at this time. And how did you go about the work of really utilizing those tools? I feel like a lot of us, especially our listeners, our viewers, are like, okay, I do yoga. I'm breathing. I'm doing my deep breaths. Like, I'm journaling. I'm gratituding. I stopped drinking. I'm fasting. I'm cleansing. I'm detoxing. Like, where people are doing all the things now. Like, there's so many things to do. There's so many tools now. However, really just speak to your journey and utilizing your tools and what that looked like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you bring up a good point. There are 1.5 million tools now, right? Like, we have accessibility to so many options.
Yeah.
So before I even get into this, I just want to, acknowledge that you don't have to do a ton of things to make a big impact or change.
Yeah.
1 or 2, 3 things that work really well, that support your life, your mind, and your body, that feel good to you, that feel like a get to instead of a have to.
Yeah.
That's all you need. It doesn't need it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to go buy anything. Just,
yeah.
It really doesn't have to be complicated. For me, people don't like to hear this, but this is what we're going to do. You can do all kinds of stuff and get nowhere. But until we get very quiet and very still and very real with ourselves, nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
You can get the fancy workout gear and say you're going to go to the gym all day long, but if you don't go, your body's not going to change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, when I'm sitting in that basement and I'm literally sitting in the middle, like, I've got papers, I had my iMac that I had packed up and brought home, like, I'm literally sitting in this room. Everyone's gone. I do have my husband and my son, which I'm very, fortunate to have in my life. But as far as like a team, it was like literally in a second, everybody was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, when is the last time that I asked, what does Laura want?
Mm.
And I didn't realize in that moment, but that was the pivotal question. And it's honestly one of the biggest questions that I ask the people that I am fortunate to work with is, what do you actually want? Because what we do is we start to create, we start to build, we start to make decisions based off of what we should. I should do this. I should do it like that. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do it like that. Right. And it's all outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
And when you can pause, okay, so the first thing is the power of the pause. Are you willing to stop for a second and feel this out? Right? We're talking about being spiritual here. Like, when is the last time you tapped into your body? Before you make a decision, before you move forward with something, before you commit to something, did you give yourself a second to pause and feel it out?
Yeah.
Right? So the pause is the first thing. And then the second, I'll ask you, when is the last time you asked yourself, what do I actually want?
I love that.
Take out the how, right? We want to figure things out to death. We want to know every detail and every timeline and who's going to be involved. Stop. What do you actually want? If we can get very clear on that, then the how starts to present itself. The next step starts to present itself. The messy action starts to present itself.
Yes.
Right. And then that's where you get to start to build.
Yeah.
And so for me, my primary tool is my intuition. Hands down, 100%. It's very simple. It's very subtle. She's persistent. My intuition is my inner compass. And I believe that we are all given intuition. We all have our own version of it, and understanding what that means for you and where it comes from, where you feel it on your body. But for me, it's like giving myself the permission to just pause for a second before I make a decision check in with my mind and my body. Is this feeling like an all systems go? Like, yes, everything's lit up. Like, okay, maybe I'm a little bit nervous. I feel like I'm on a roller coaster, like I might puke, but I'm actually pretty excited. Right? Keep going, Laura. You're good. It'll be totally fine. Yes. But I call it bricks and butterflies for me.
Okay.
So to me, butterflies is this light, airy, kind of nervous, excited. Like I said, kind of being on a roller coaster. I might vomit. I might not vomit. Like, I definitely want to buy the picture at the end so I can document this, like,
yeah, I did that.
that to me, for my intuition, is, yeah, keep going. Yes, this is the right thing. Whereas bricks are very different. They are heavy. To me, in my body, they tend to be a little bit lower. And you gotta get this feeling like something's not quite right, but I can't explain it. I don't think that this is right, but a lot of people are going to be like, well, why wouldn't you do it? Like all the voices, it gets very noisy, right? So paying attention, like if I start to feel that, or if I feel myself kind of shut down, like my aura starts to like pull in closer to my body, or I stop talking, for me, and I know, like, hold on, something needs to be evaluated here. This may not be the right thing. And I need to be willing to have the gutsy to say no, even if it makes absolutely no sense to anything or anybody. I must trust that. So that's probably it is my primary tool that I use. And then I developed kind of a mindset tool to back it up then as well.
Nice. I love that. And it's so apropos that you have the Gutsy podcast, because what you're expressing, for me, I feel it in my guts. Like for a very long time, like I had IBS, like I always get super nervous, like the vomiting, the running to the bathroom, diarrhea. I just be honest, like what it is. Like that was really much tied to my inability to tap into my emotions and listen to myself before it was bricks in my belly, or my intestinal tract rather. And so, for so many people listening out there, it's the embodiment that really allows us to be able to see ourselves. And you talked about that in the beginning, like to see myself, to know what I want. The best way to do that is by listening to your body. And for me, it started with my Tai Chi journey. Like I was aware that I was having all these bodily issues, but I wasn't aware how numb I was to them or how unaware I was of them. And when I started doing Tai Chi a couple of years ago, it really awakened me to all these sensations in my organs, particularly in my guts and in my lower part of my body, my sacral chakra, and understanding that it's through here, or my stomach or my liver or wherever else, that I can feel my emotions. I can feel what's actually working for me, or what's actually bringing me joy, what's bringing me pain, what's bringing me anxiety, and work through that. And that's, I believe, kind of what I was, speaking to you about the tools and what the equipment looks like, because so often we're ignoring those feelings. And are we even aware that we're feeling those feelings,
Well, that's the thing. Most people are not. Most people are running on autopilot, on have to do's, on checklists, on tight schedules.
Yeah.
And wash, rinse, repeat every single day.
Yeah.
And so that's where we have to start. If you're not happy with where you are you willing to slow down for long enough to figure out what you need?
Yes.
Are you willing to slow down long enough to figure out what you want?
Yes.
And I particularly work with women in business, and when I chat with these gals, when I'm like, what do you actually want? 9.5 times out of 10, the answer is, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, fair. Now we have a place to start.
Yes.
Right? And that becomes the beginning of the journey of awakening to getting back into alignment with yourself, because we're so outside of ourselves. I mean, we're not in our physical bodies. We're above, we're below, we're beside, we're in another state, right? Like we're all over the place. And so the work that I do, the work that I teach, it's not a quick fix. It's not a hack, right? It's not just like if you do these things, then that type of deal, but it's life-changing work that helps you to really be in tune with your mind, in tune with your body, and start to recognize like, oh, listen, something as simple as I've been eating the same thing for breakfast every single day for the last 6 months. And I just woke up today and I realized that I don't even like that. It makes my stomach hurt. It's hard to make. Like, so we're starting our day off in frustrated energy already, right? And that's just such a basic, simple example. But like evaluating, like if you would go through an entire day, I would even stretch you to do this for a week, but start to evaluate every single thing that you do and check in with yourself. How does this make me feel? Do you do you like eating this breakfast? Does this make you feel nourished? Do you feel excited about this? Are you like having an experience with your food in your moment in the morning? Maybe you're not even eating breakfast and you're just running out the door, right? Okay, maybe we need to ground ourselves in the morning, right? Like it's in every little decision that we make. And when we start to reclaim ourselves in our decisions and be like, actually, that doesn't feel good. I don't like that. Or, oh, that makes me feel on top of the world. I would like to have some more of that, please and thank you. Right. And so it's slowing down long enough to even evaluate what works and what doesn't work. And now we can start to filter through what's next.
Yes, I love that. And not only does it take that slowing down, it takes the awareness to know that I have the power to make conscious choices and conscious decisions. Because I feel like we've been given this beautiful gift as human beings to have free will. Yet because of our subconscious programming, much of our actions, much of our doing, much of our being is, like you said before, on autopilot. Yeah. So when we're getting into that slowing down movement or that slowing down motion or that slowing down stillness, nothingness, then we have the ability to say, wait, I can make a choice. I can decide what I want to do with my life, what I want to eat, where I want to go, who I want to be with, who I want to be around, how I want to expend my energy, how I don't want to expend my energy. It really allows for those choices to be made. And I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that.
We have so much more power than we give ourselves permission to use.
Yes. And because this is the Meta Business Millennial podcast, I want to get into the business of how you do your work with your clients, particularly because there's still a lot of people out there that are waiting to see, for lack of better words, what the link is between this work and doing business. For some reason, there's just happens to be a big disconnect in people's minds why this work is important to my business or why I need to bring people in to do this with my business. Because I have the Meta Business School as a company, and we're consultants. We go into people's offices and actually teach and coach and do these things. And you do the same with your entrepreneurs. So I would like for you to just really start to explain in your terms, your best terms, why this link is important.
Oh, absolutely. Look, like I started off this conversation, just because you're a business owner doesn't mean the human side of you goes away. It gets amplified.
Period.
And so the things that you carry with you, the joys that you carry with you, the discomfort that you carry with you, the beliefs that you carry with you get amplified in your business. It's like a megaphone, right? Like we're shining lights on it. And so if, just using my original example about money, right? Like that was a human personal belief, but I started a business, not because I was bored, but because I would like to also make a comfortable living to support myself, my family, and my desires. But not doing the work, right? Not connecting the pieces. Had I never done that, you and I probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now because I wouldn't be in business. Right. And so it's understanding how these core thoughts, beliefs, and actions show up in our business. And sometimes that's undercharging. Sometimes it's overcommitting your time. Sometimes it's people pleasing, right? That's a big one that everyone can relate to. If you are a core people pleaser, right? You want to make sure everyone around you is taken care of, then you might overexert yourself in the business, try to be everything to everyone, offer every service under the sun to make sure everyone is taken care of. And then at the end of the day, every day, you're like, I just did 1,000 things, but I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel accomplished. I don't feel like I'm working all these hours, but my bank account isn't reflecting it, right? Like, so you can see like it's sneaky, right? It's these little pieces, but they will grow in the business very, very quickly. And so if we do this work as a human, we do this work as a business owner. And then that, my friend, all the success that you're looking for, the fulfillment that you're looking for, the joy that you're looking for, not only do you have it in your personal life, but now you have it in your business life.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but that, my friend, is the sweet spot. That's where the magic happens.
I agree. I 100% agree. And that's essentially why the meta business world exists, is that we can't have one without the other. And I love to always just break it down into the metaphysical aspect, is that we have 3 bodies fundamentally as these human beings. We have our physical body, we have our emotional body, and we have our spiritual body, our soul. And if we aren't aware of those 2 pieces, like the emotional and the soul part, the spiritual aspect, then you're literally walking around third of yourself. Like you aren't even actualizing your fullest potential as a human being, a divine being in a human existence. And so this is why this work is so important to me, to people I work with, to folks like you, is that we want to be able to be in our fullest expression at all times. And when we do that, then we bring the best work forth. And so why wouldn't you want to do this in your business life? You know, if you want to make $1 billion, $1 trillion, now that's been put on my consciousness. Then how are we going to get there if we're not fully activating all of our gifts? And I also want to get into a little bit more about the way in which you work with people, the way in which you grew your business, because I believe that there's someone out there. I just feel that for someone who has felt you, like they were on good track, they kind of fell off a little bit, they're in their basement, if you will, metaphorically. Like, what would you say to this person, whether it be your client or someone out there that's wanting to get back on the wheel? Like, how do you kind of work people through that mindset or that shift?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I've got a couple of group programs as well. But I think that let me feel into this for a second. I think the first place that we need to start is by giving ourselves a little bit of grace. Because we want to very quickly go into judgment. We want to very quickly go into fixing it, right? Like we're not fixing things on the first call together, right?
Yeah.
we're acknowledging it. We're giving ourselves grace. We are loving on ourselves in the journey. And I know that might sound like, oh, why would we? Because if we can't have self-compassion, then what are we building this next chapter on?
Yeah.
Right. If we started on judgment and shame and anger and resentment or whatever emotion that you're experiencing, if it's like, I just want to fix that, and that's the energy that we're building this next chapter on, that's in your foundation, right? And it's okay to have those emotions. I also want to acknowledge. In fact, I would say that it's very necessary to feel big emotions, but we have to get back to kind of a neutral zone, because a lot of times when people come to me, there's something going on, right? They're either feeling disconnected because they have a bigger vision, but it's not their reality yet. Or, they're in a situation where they've been doing something for so long and they realize that they don't love it anymore. Right. Like, so there's always kind of this kind of pivot moment in their life and in their business where they're ready for a change, but they don't know what to do first.
Yeah.
More often than not, it's like, I don't have the clarity. And so therefore I don't know what to do or how to focus. I want to do the work, but I just need someone outside of my own head for a second to like help me see this from a bird's eye view. And that's what I'm very, very good at, is I can I sense your energy. I can pick up on things that you may have your blinders onto. And we can start to get clear. And so that's then, after compassion and neutralizing, then we start to build some clarity. Okay, what do you actually want? If you're not sure what you want, okay, let's start to explore what that might mean. Right. And so we're just like, I'm even doing this like kind of hand motion where we're just like unpacking, we're unfolding, we're removing layers, and in a very supportive space where someone sees and hears you. Because the other thing with the people that I work with, they're typically the strong ones, right? The ones that everyone else goes to, the visionary, the one with the ideas, the one that like most people don't check on because they're probably fine, right? Like, but who is that? Who is that person for you? That's me. So really helping to hold that space for you to expand into. to take up the next space of the chapter to get the clarity that you need. And once we start to get clarity, then we can start to build action. And when we start to build action, then we can start to see those changes happen.
I love that. There are so many things that you said that resonated with me. The first being the self-compassion, because this is something that happens layer upon layer upon layer. Like, I've been doing this work for years, yet for me, it's the self-compassion that I have to still come back to. Like, why is this shit so hard? Like, why am I so critical? Why am I so harsh on myself? And for me right now, it happens to be in the area of like, I'm gonna put myself out there in the area of love. Like, I'm really trying to attract a divine mate. I really am finding myself having deeper feelings for people who I've become attracted to. And I immediately go into self-sabotage mode. Like, I immediately want to be like, oh, well, he ain't shit, or, well, you know what I'm saying? Like the typical female, like male bashing, self-sabotage, because we don't feel like we're getting what we want in the moment. And this can happen in your business. This can happen in your family. This can happen with your kids. We're always really quick to just sabotage when it doesn't seem to be going our way. And that's where I believe, like you mentioned, this self-compassion, this grace is absolutely necessary, because it allows me to say, okay, Erin, you're feeling this big emotion of, you know, for lack of better words, I guess, of want to hate on the situation. Right. Why do you want to hate? Is it too much for you just to like love this person regardless of the outcome? You know, and then that gets into the line of questioning of, oh, wow, like what would that feel like? You know, like, and then that kind of gets you more into like what you talked about, this neutral zone. Like, okay, if I can feel both sides, then that brings me more into a balanced feeling. Okay, now I'm more balanced. And then it allows, like you mentioned, this vision, this clarity that's necessary for me to actually take action. Like, what can I reasonably do in this scenario? And if it's nothing, sometimes it's nothing, you know, or if you're like, okay, well, maybe I can send a sweet text because I don't really care if he responds or not. Like, I still love him, or I still have big feelings and I want them to be expressed and seen, because this is my vulnerable side wanting to be expressed. So I totally, like, step by step can really align with how you're going about the healing work, because it's absolutely necessary at every single level of the healing journey.
Absolutely. Look, there's, so I'm on TikTok the most, social platform wise. That's where I play the most. And anytime I say this next phrase, people lose their minds.
What is it?
It's the thing that you want the most is often behind the thing that you resist the most.
Come on now.
The thing that you want the most is often behind the thing that you resist the most. And when you were just sharing that beautiful story about what you're going through right now, you're resisting it, right?
Yes.
You want the love, you want the partner, you want the relationship, but you're cutting it off right before it starts. Right?
Come on now.
And so there's resistance there. And so that's the type of work that we can work in. Okay, what are we resisting and why? What is the underlying fear or emotion that's happening with that? And if we can start to get real with that, that starts to soften that outer layer to say, okay, I can see what I'm doing. And it sounds like you're already doing some of this work. I can see what I'm doing.
Yes.
Let me choose differently this time.
Yes.
Let me put my resistance down for a second and give myself the opportunity to try. What amazing thing might happen if I do that?
Yeah. I love it. What amazing thing would happen, guys, if we just remove the resistance. And removing the resistance is really, I mean, y'all, we're saying it like it's light work, like it's just like, let me just push this chair to the side. But, you know, in reality, the resistance is it's fractured, it's layered, it's multi-layered, and the resistance can be coming from places, from roots and orientations that may not even be our own. And this is something too that in doing the metaphysical work and doing the spiritual work and collective healing, understanding that the work that we're doing to heal ourselves is oftentimes coming from generations and generations and generations ago.
Sure is.
Yes, especially as women. And you talked about being focused on women entrepreneurs, and we have these beautiful organs called uteruses, our wombs that carry light years of information in them. that are really informing our beings and why we do the things that we do, like put everyone else first. And I don't know if that's necessarily like the worst thing, because I did it too. And it's just part of our initiation into this journey as women. Yet at the same time, there's this opportunity to really start to see all of the experiences, the lifetimes, the wisdom, traditions, all of these things to help us inform where we are today. And I'm saying all this to say that because this is my lived experience, this is my personal journey right now, in understanding like this is the work that I have to do in order to be fully embodied in the human being that I am in this moment.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that we're quick to judge it, to fix it, to like, well, why did this happen? And who is this? And like, what if this is just the journey? Right. I think if we can let go of the control, which is way easier said than done. If we can let go of the control sometimes and let things be, then things will happen the way that they're already intended to. But the stress, the anxiousness, the like worry, the this and that, all that stuff that happens in our minds, it comes from us trying to micromanage every step that the universe is trying to take for us.
Yeah.
And so if we can step aside for a second, hold ourselves accountable, which is the hardest part, because when you're in these moments, right? Like what we're talking about, and you acknowledge this too, we're talking about it like it's super easy. It's not, but it's doable, right? if you believe that it's doable, it is doable.
Yes.
But more often than not, no one's coming to like check on you in the scenario in the moment to help guide you through this, right? It's holding yourself accountable to make these decisions, to choose differently, to respond versus react. It comes down to you. And that's where it gets mucky, because if no one else is looking, then I'll just keep doing what I've been doing because that's more comfortable, right?
Yes. So, and this is where I say people like you come into play. People like me are absolutely necessary, because that accountability piece is crucial.
Look, the accountability is priceless. Just to have someone else outside of your own head, someone else that is an advocate for who you are and what you're doing. Someone else to continue to hold that space and that vision for you in the moments when you can't possibly see it. That is invaluable, my friend. I've had coaches and mentors along the way that have been able to do that for me. And what a precious gift and what a precious investment in yourself and your future.
Yes. And speaking of this investment, I would like for you to just really briefly, you talked a little bit about your courses and your coaching. Talk a little bit more about how people can engage with your work and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So LauraAura.com is my website. It's LauraAura.com. That's the hub for all things me. You can learn more about my coaching programs and ways that we can work together. I would be honored to support you. You can also find a link to the Gutsy Podcast. So if you want some more of this infused in your mind and in your day, I have 2 episodes that air every week. So there's links to that on the website as well. And then of course, if you want, I always say that I'm like a swift kick in the mental ass followed by the best hug you've ever had. And if you want some of that, if you're kind of stepping into it and you're like, okay, I'm kind of warming up to this. TikTok is where I play the most. My handle is at that LauraAura, and every single day I'm putting out nuggets to help you get out of your head so that you can take action and feel good doing it.
I love it. And I love too that you say that you go to TikTok to play, because for me, social media felt really not playful.
It started that way. And there were certain platforms like for instance, this particular season, LinkedIn just is not it for me. Right. And it's a valuable tool and it works immensely for so many people. For me, it's just not my jam. But TikTok vibes with me, right?
Okay.
I vibe with TikTok.
Okay.
I'm really just able to show my face and talk the way that I talk. And like, I'm a business person, yes, but I'm a human first.
Yeah.
And so, being the same person that you are from 9 to 5 as you are from 5 to 9 is really important to me. So TikTok, I just go over there and I play, and it's funny. The more blunt and honest I am with people, the more people follow. So that's what we're doing, my friend.
Yes, come on, doing what feels good and feels right. I felt like that was the theme of today's conversation, is feeling into the work, feeling into what you want. That really resonated very loudly with me, in terms of how you go about your journey and how you inspire other people in their journey, is knowing what you want and asking yourself what you want. It was about those conscious questions, those conscious choices. And I don't know, are there any other last, nuggets you like to leave folks with before we wrap up?
Yeah. I just want to remind everybody that you are allowed to want what you want, that if you gave yourself just a little bit of credit today, if today, instead of stopping yourself before you got started, instead of overthinking and worrying about the details, instead of going down the path that you would typically go down, what if today you chose differently and you said, well, what if I tried? What if I did one thing? What if I allowed myself to go there? What if I allowed myself to play with this? What if I allowed myself to wear this crazy loud outfit, or up my price on my website, or make a video and put it up and it's not what people are used to? What if I tried today? And what exciting thing might happen because of it? What layer am I pulling back, and what opportunities might show up if I chose me today instead of the who, what, when, where, or why? And so wanting what you want is necessary. It really boils down to, are you going to give yourself permission to do it?
Yes. Are you going to give yourself permission to do it, guys? Are you going to do it? I love that. It's all about that permission. It's all about that consent. Because when we are consensual in our actions, then we are, conspiring with the universe to make it happen. I love that so much. You all, this was a wrap with LauraAura. You know how to meet her. Find her at LauraAura.com, on TikTok. You said at that LauraAura.
At that LauraAura.
Yep. At that LauraAura. And you can find me at I Am Erin Patton on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Also, the Meta Business Millennial Podcast has its own, handle at Instagram. And of course, we're on YouTube at I Am Erin Patton. This has been a beautiful episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. I'm so, so grateful to have had LauraAura on the show to share this time and space, to really start to amplify our voices in the collective on how and why we should be doing business well, why we should be doing business from our hearts, from a place of alignment. This was everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening and watching. Peace.
Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatton.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.